It's the slave police, literally. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host, Emma.
And I'm your co-host, Chrissy. On the agenda today, can you be queer in Eastern Europe?
Some of the themes we'll be discussing today are indirect and direct violence, the silence around queerness, the Pride March and Pride Parade, how religion influences queerness, and the freak show aspect and voyeurism towards queer people. So, starting with the main point of our podcast episode is essentially being queer in certain places, and we've chosen to talk about what it's like to be queer in Eastern Europe because, well, I'm from Croatia. Thank you, Chrissy.
And I'm from Bulgaria.
Hey, sorry.
Little Eastern Europe vibe.
A little Eastern Europe vibe.
Yeah.
And we both have experiences with the LGBT communities or lack thereof in both countries. So I guess, Chrissy, what's it like to be queer or part of the LGBT community in Bulgaria, or being Bulgarian and having that as part of your identity?
So being queer in Bulgaria is not really a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a topic of discussion. Even if you see someone who, if you kind of suspect, if you see them on the street and they're like,
yeah,
that's a very gay hair color or something like that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't point it out. You wouldn't acknowledge it. It's just sort of very under the surface sort of thing. Like, like you have...
Like, maybe they're just a bit, like, alternative. Like, if they have, like, what's the classic? Like, blue hair is a very classic, like...
Girl with the blue hair.
Yeah, like, feminism,
it's
gay.
It's not... Even if you saw that, you wouldn't think gay. You would just think weird or, like, unfeminine. Because it's just not a thing there. It's not a thing, especially because I come from, like, a very small town, like... village type place, and it's just there is no queer community, and if there is, it's like undercover. Like, it's not, there aren't like gay clubs, there are just places that people just through word of mouth find out about, and it's like a safe place where you can go that
Yeah, no, it's like, I really, I'm glad you mentioned gay clubs, because there's, like, a lot I want to say about gay clubs in Croatia as well, and the way they're, like, looked at versus, like, gay clubs in the UK, for example. But going back to our kind of original question, I guess the difference between Bulgaria and Croatia is it would be spoken about, not as much, but, like, if you did see... I think if you saw a woman that looked non-conventional... usually the way it's seen is, like, alternative, in Zagreb specifically, it would be, like, alternative and, like, maybe a bit punkish, she listens to hard rock and she dyes her hair and she wears, like, chains, and that's, like, seen as just, like, oh, she's a bit troubled, not necessarily gay or queer or anything like that. That wouldn't be the conversation.
Angsty teen.
Yeah, but if you see, like, a feminine man, that would be instantly... spoken about, but in, like, not a positive way. It would be spoken about in, like, slurs would be thrown about, essentially, like, you wouldn't be like, oh, what a lovely lad, he's just expressing himself. It would be like, what are his parents doing, like, is he going to church, this isn't very godly, and I think he would probably, well, depending on where he went in the city, but he would probably be maybe attacked or jumped or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
So it is a conversation, but it's still not, like, a positive conversation.
No.
At the most, it's like, oh, they're gay, but, like, that's their very private, very quiet business, So.
What they don't know doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, like, it's always, like, a question of, like, I feel bad for their parents.
Oh yeah,
like
like
they have to deal with, like,
shame,
dishonor, dishonor on the family,
dishonor
on God. It's like, oh, they didn't go to church.
Your entire bloodline is cursed.
Yeah, it's like, I told you this before, but when because my extended family doesn't know I'm, like, part of the community, but my aunt knows that I hang out, that a lot of my friends are gay. Especially my best friends are both very proud and out lesbians. And she was like, oh, watch out, don't hang out with them too much. They might turn you gay. And I was like, maybe
I had
not.
a similar experience when I was coming out to my mom. Because like once I managed to actually get the words out, one of the first things she said to me was, are your friends gay, or are your friends like this? Because she immediately assumed that I had been influenced in some way, or I don't know, brainwashed even.
Yeah.
Because I went to a Catholic girls' school, so I assume my parents imagined, because there was like a lack of male presence, they thought, and you know, going through puberty, that I would just turn to girls instead.
Yeah.
But I was a very gay child.
Just instantly from the get-go. Yeah.
That was not the case.
And
yeah, she just thought that I was she basically thought it was like a fad, you know, like a little, like a trend, like, oh, it's cool to be gay.
Yeah.
But even, you know, at that time, which was only a few years ago, being gay, that it was still not very good.
No.
Especially like in that age group. Because, you know, you're going to the locker rooms and you're getting changed and people are like worried that you're staring at them, or that you're like lusting after them as if you're some, you know, sexually deprived beast.
It's always like that, where it's like if you're the only gay person or like openly queer person or anything.
So that kind of links to this, I think, inclusion by exclusion. Because basically by ignoring the existence of queer people, you're keeping the peace. You're keeping the status quo. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's sort of like you're conditionally included in society, or allowed to interact with like allowed to being just above like bare life. But it's very conditional. It's if you're born like a straight white man, which is almost like a meme to say at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, but like it is kind of like if you're born as like the perfect status quo in your like respective culture, you don't have to like fight or do anything specific to be included in, you know.
You've already made it.
Yeah.
Basically. You're already at the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. But like if you're outside of the status quo, if you're unconventional, if your existence is unconventional,
you have to try and fit in.
Yeah, your inclusion is very conditional, and it's like there's so many terms of conditions.
Read the terms and conditions, yo.
Terms and conditions of how to be included continuously, and I think that's very it like really grates on you psychologically. It's very like indirectly violent, you know. And I think it really like it kind of like promotes secrecy, which is never good. And that's how like people get hurt and families get hurt.
Reminds me a little bit of, what is it, politics of respectability, where in the US, if you wanted to be air quotes, a good black person, you had to be a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, don't be loud in the street,
Yeah.
be quiet, you know, dress a certain way. Just basically, you were like an honorary white person. So if we apply that,
it's kind of like model minority as essentially
the ideal immigrant.
Yeah, the ideal immigrant.
They don't act out.
Yeah, and I think with queerness in countries like Eastern Europe, it's okay to be quietly gay. It's very okay to be like, that's your own private thing, that you shouldn't say it ever, and you shouldn't go out with your partner, and you shouldn't hold hands, and you shouldn't get married.
As long as I don't see it, I'm
yeah,
cool.
exactly. But I don't have to see it. Like I, as like the person who can't handle it, I can't see it, and it has to be to my standards. And I think that's very. I think it just sets us. It sort of sets a standard of like complete exclusion. Like it's just like almost impossible to really feel included in society, in everyday life, if there's just like massive part of you that you can't share. But I guess we can sort of move on to the differences in being queer in countries like Bulgaria and Croatia to the differences in like being gay in a country like the UK, which we both have a lot of experience in it because we both live in the UK. Yeah, and there's lots to say about that. I think one of my biggest things that I was like shocked with was the way Pride is seen.
Oh, definitely.
Like the march itself.
It is very, I mean, aside from like the commercial aspect of it, it's such a joyful day. Like if you just ignore the angry protesters in the corner, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's lovely, it's colorful, it's loud, everyone's out and proud.
It's like a big party. It's like a city-wide party. Yeah. Yeah. It is like such, I've never been to London Pride directly. I've like been in London when it's happened, and like my friends would sometimes go to London Pride, but it's almost like with the prides I've been to before in Zagreb, they're so different. Like I don't see almost the need for me specifically to go because it is very commercialized. It's very like, we said like rainbow washed, which is just when corporations essentially throw like a rainbow sticker on their products and are like, we love the gays.
We love the
today,
gays.
So you can buy our drink.
Gays, please buy.
Please buy our new Primark sheets.
This lesbian flavored.
Lesbian flavored G&T tonic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like tinny. But in Zagreb, like Pride was and still is this like almost radical thing where don't get me wrong, it's not like a super depressing day where it's raining and everyone's sad and gay and marching. Yeah, doom and gloom. It's still like a beautiful, joyous day full of dance and like music and everything.
Right.
But it was way more, there was like an aspect of danger to going to Pride. Like we had to like hide our friends' faces from the cameras. And there was, like, you know, protesters against Pride as well, like people throwing rocks. There was a lot of police around to protect the march. It was just a bit more, like, intense and a bit more political.
There's definitely that sense of danger.
Yeah,
that is also a thing here, but not as potent, I wouldn't say.
I agree.
And the thing about, I don't know if it's like this all over the UK, but in London in particular, Pride touches every corner of the city. You see it everywhere. Like even if it's like in the middle of Trafalgar Square, you see like people walking around with like their rainbow flags and their glittered cheeks. You see it. You see like the after effects.
Yeah, and the city changes with it as well. There's more flags up. There's more like gay colors around, like gay flags and like
suddenly it becomes a lot more welcoming. But in Bulgaria, Pride happens only in the capital, in Sofia, and it's very, very contained. I don't think you would see like a rainbow flag in a random street. Like it's very contained to the actual location of the parade. So it doesn't infect the city the way that it happens here in London. It's very contained. It's very restricted as well. You will have police, and you have protesters, and they're not only protesters. I would probably go as far as to call them rioters because they will try to sabotage, like what they call the floats and like the people in the parade. They would throw things at them. They might attack them verbally and physically. So it's definitely like an entirely different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like the Pride happens in the city in countries like cities like Sofia and Zagreb, but like in London it happens like with the city, like the city kind of like
the city is a participant.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just kind of like a location where it happens.
Right.
Yeah. What about, is there direct violence against gay people in Bulgaria?
Like physical?
Like physical.
I think there would be if someone was brave enough to appear gay, whatever that may mean.
Yeah.
It's very derogatory. Like in most countries, if you're like, you could be like the most masculine, like muscular, like macho man.
Yeah.
But and then like if I were to call you gay, that would be like the ultimate insult. Like that would be like slamming tables, throwing chairs type of anger. Because how dare you assume that I like men? I'm a vagina lover. Despite the fact that I constantly seek the approval of other men, but you know, at the end of the night, I still put my dick in a vagina.
Yeah. So it's okay. I'm fine. It's pretty similar in Croatia. I think because there are people who are more openly gay, it does come to like more violence, but thankfully it's calmed down again, except for violence against the gay image, like so like the pride flag being like cut down and stuff like that. But it's more like anecdotal where some of my gay friends get like threatened or followed or something like that, but it's very rarely like reported on. It very rarely like makes the news, or like you can't really find statistics on it because it's still like such a small part of like what happens within the police force. And also obviously people who get attacked for being gay rarely want to call the police to not out themselves publicly to their families or to their friends.
Right.
So it's usually, if it happens, it's very like hush hush, and it's a shame you got jumped, you know? Like that's about
Too
it.
bad you got caught slipping.
Yeah, you got caught slipping, you wore eyeliner, so you have to die now.
Right.
Sorry.
You have to die.
So it's interesting to see that like with terms such as like massification, which is when you do put like people in like bodies of people and groups of people, that really doesn't happen in Bulgaria and Croatia because people aren't brave enough to be out, to even be
to be categorized.
So they're rather just categorized in the status quo to like not hurt themselves and endanger themselves.
It's self-preservation at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen a gay flag in Bulgaria.
Yeah, and that's like...
And it's, I don't know, even in the city, like, which is only, 25 kilometers from where I live?
Yeah.
I've never seen a gay flag or anything that might be mistaken for a gay flag, or that you would recognize as, oh, this is like a queer place.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, not even in the capital. So
that's wild. Yeah.
It's very just like, you know, everyone is just covering their eyes and their ears.
Yeah.
You don't see, you don't hear anything gay.
Anything gay is not
colorblind completely.
Do you think it's because of like how in what ways like Bulgaria is religious, or do you think it's just like the state is still too conservative, or like all of the above?
There are a couple communities in Bulgaria. So we have the Bulgarians, we have the Turks, and we have the Roma people. For me, my dad is Bulgarian and my mom is Turk, so we have Islam and Orthodox Catholicism. So two very intense religions. Yeah. And none of my parents are practicing, but of course, if they need to, they will pull from those beliefs, just on command, like you know.
When it suits them.
It's very selective.
Right.
Very selective. You know, Chrissy, this is gay. God doesn't like that.
Selection of the day. God from either religion does not approve. Yeah.
No, but to be honest, aside from religion, the main thing that people are concerned about is the way that you look and the way that you're perceived. What will the people say? You know, because again, like I said before, there are no strangers. Everybody knows everybody. So if there's a rumor about you, you're basically ruined. And of course, the prospect of marriage. How will anyone love you if your hair is short? How will a man want you? Like, you need to be desirable as a woman. So it's mostly about gender roles. Definitely, that's I think, you know, that idea of the neutral family unit. Yeah.
the mom, the dad, the two kids, the dog. Yeah. Very like American 50s. Yeah.
That's the main thing. Religion is an aspect, but mostly it's just gender roles and the way that you're perceived. Like you need to maintain the status quo. If you go against that, then everybody knows, and if everybody knows, then your family is ruined. And you know, even if you personally don't care what people think, there's that weight on your shoulders of like, I don't want my parents to struggle and to feel shame.
Yeah.
Even if I'm angry at the fact that, you know, they don't support me.
Yeah.
I still because I realize that their entire lives will change.
Yeah.
It's a very small place. So my actions immediately will reflect onto them.
So today we've covered our own anecdotal experiences being queer in the UK and Eastern Europe.
We've discussed direct and indirect violence, and we've discussed the negative consequences of the refusal to acknowledge queerness.
This has been Emma.
And this has been Chrissy.
Thank you so much for listening, and tune in indefinitely for our next episode. Bye!